Tonight on A New Thing Live, it's guitar legend Caleb Quaye giving us an exclusive into his world of music and who has a movie being released this February. Get your questions ready for a time of Q&A over a pot of tea, all tonight on a new episode of A New Thing Live. Are you ready? A New Thing Live. My name is Cindy Galley, and I am the host of this new show. This is our third episode. We're so glad to bring it to you, and we're still working out these glitches. And so thank you so much for being patient. But more than anything, we're here to have a good time. We're here to inspire you. We're here to talk with different leaders and influencers and just get real about what was it that helped you get from point A to point B, especially for those that are saying, I'm going to take the next step, this leap of faith to head into this new thing in my life. So I am so excited. Today we have a legendary guitarist, Caleb Quaye. This man, I was telling him earlier today, I really probably needed a good month to do all the research that was needed to be done because he's a phenomenal man who's just experienced so many rich and wonderful things in the span of life that God's given him. So before we bring Pastor Caleb to our virtual set, let's go ahead and take a look at Caleb Quaye.
Elton John's first American album was released, and I remember I was listening to the album and I looked at the album cover and the photographs and I saw a black face. So I was listening to Arthur Lee of Love, all kinds of Jimi Hendrix work, and I was paying attention to Caleb.
Hendrix was a huge influence. Chas Chandler told me, you could be the next Jimi Hendrix. This is Hendrix's manager talking to me. You could be the next Hendrix.
He's a brilliant guitar player.
I was really looking for more of his work. And then I lost track.
Wasn't looking for God or Jesus or anything, wasn't looking for religion. I was looking for answers. I was with Hall & Oates at the time. I'm sat in this chair and all of a sudden I hear this voice just break through my world and speak to me. Call me by my name and tell me, Caleb, from this point on, your life's going to be completely different and nothing's going to be the same for you ever again.
I think it's absolutely crucial that Caleb's story be told directly. Elton John, as important as he is a factor in Caleb's life, not the other way around.
Would you help me welcome to our virtual set, Caleb Quaye? Caleb, how are you? Welcome.
Good to be here, my dear. Good to be here.
Oh, it's so good to have you here. How have you been doing? It's been years.
Yeah.
Since I've seen you, since we've actually talked in person, it's been, I was thinking maybe 25 years. Has it been about that long?
I would say so. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, my goodness me.
I know. And so much has happened. I mean, 25 years is a long span, but so exciting to see, all of these new things that are happening in your life. And so you've got a huge story that takes you back to England, right?
Yes, that's right. That's where I was born and raised, and started out in the music business and everything. My father was a professional musician, jazz musician. And in fact, I come from 5 generations of musicians on my father's side prior to me. And so I was born into, the music industry. My father was famous in England and Europe at the time. And he was good friends with some of the world's greatest jazz musicians. And a lot of these people used to come around to our house when I was a kid and have these jam sessions that were hosted by my dad and my mom.
Wow.
And, we're talking, Ella Fitzgerald, Dizzy Gillespie, Django Reinhardt. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, Charlie Parker, all of these guys. Yeah.
Wow.
So, as a young kid, I was sat listening to this stuff, going, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Yes. even if that's not what you're called to do.
It was, you
I
know,
want to be a musician. I can't sing, but I want to do this.
I had an ear for music. I did
Yeah.
have an ear for music. And, my dad started to teach me the piano when I was 4 years old, and then drums when I was 7. And the guitar came along when I was 12.
Okay.
But that's all I ever wanted to do. Like most young boys, at least back in that world back then, most young boys wanted to be like their fathers. So my friends in the street, they wanted to be like their fathers, who would have been policemen, firemen, soldiers, or whatever. And I wanted to be like my dad, who was a musician. That was it.
Love that. Love that. So that's amazing. I mean, what a rich childhood.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Some of those names, I do like jazz. So some of those names that you mentioned, obviously Ella Fitzgerald and Dizzy Gillespie, even Charlie Parker. I love jazz so much. And so I'm just fascinated. And I know in just kind of going back to some of your your upbringing, it sounded like the genre that you most associated with was that jazz and that R&B or the blues more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My dad was always bringing records home, from import stores and stuff like that. So that was the soundtrack of our house. That was the music that was going on all the time in our house, And my parents knew that I was going to be a musician when I was it would have had to be about 10 or 11 years old. Dave Brubeck had come out with Take 5.
Oh.
You're right. And it was the first jazz composition in an odd time signature. And one day they heard me tapping out the time signature on the dinner table.
Woo!
They went, uh-oh, he's got it. It's over.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's one of the things I really like about jazz, actually, are those just very unique time signatures. But I have to admit, I've been playing the piano since I was 6 years old. And I wouldn't say I'm it's like, yes, I have taught piano, but there's still so much more that I can still learn. I love the instrument, but it's not one of those things that I ever felt like, oh, this is what I want to do for life.
Sure.
But when I would go hear jazz, there was a jazz club that I used to love to frequent in Pasadena called the Baked Potato. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, played there. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You played there?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. And I wasn't invited.
Oh, boy.
That picture.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we'd go, I'd hear Justo Mario and Abe there.
Yeah.
And just such great jazz musicians. But there were some times where I would get lost in that time signature. I was like, I don't know where they're at right now. So I'm just gonna stop trying to pretend like I do, and I'm just gonna enjoy.
That's right. It can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So wonderful. So your parents knew at the age of 10, and you started playing guitar at the age of 12. And first of all, I didn't even know you played the piano until I was watching some clips, and I just saw you jamming on the keys. But then it did trigger that you used to play in your office on a keyboard. And I said, I did know that. It was something that I had forgotten.
Right.
Yeah. Well, as far as piano goes, what would you say would be your favorite genre of piano to play?
Oh, boy. Well, it would be jazz, R&B kind of stuff. I mean, I had some classical training. So it's a potpourri,
Yeah.
I kind of mix it up,
Yes.
But, I've always loved, like Herbie Hancock.
Yes.
The Modern Jazz Quartet, John Lewis from the Modern Jazz Quartet. A lot of people like that. Keith Jarrett is one of my favorite piano players.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of him, but so I was just steeped in jazz piano.
Love that. That's wonderful. So then you're 12 years old, and then I remembered reading or hearing, I can't remember, but you found yourself in the studio between the ages of maybe 12 and 16.
Yeah.
Like, what was your first studio experience? Who were you playing for? Who were you playing with?
It's funny. I started playing guitar at 12, And then by the time I was 16, I was good enough for, I was working in studios. And
Wow.
at 16, actually, I did a session for a friend of mine. His name is Billy Nichols, and he works a lot with, he serves as Pete Townshend's music director.
Okay.
He was a young songwriter at the time, and for a company called Immediate Records. This was Andrew Oldham, who was at the time Rolling Stones' manager, and he'd set up the first independent record label in England. And Billy was doing a record in there and asked me to go and play guitar on his record. So I did. And I met this guy. And back then, everything was union, So there was a contractor there. And to cut a long story short, this contractor used to book Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin because he used to be a studio guitar player.
Wow.
And Jimmy Page had decided, so this is 1966, Jimmy Page decided he didn't want to do studio work anymore. So the contractor comes up to me on my first session and says to me, "Oh, Caleb, I really like what you did. You sound great. I've got all this work lined up for Jimmy Page and he doesn't want to do it anymore. Would you like to do it?" I said, "Oh, yes, indeed."
Yes, thank you very much.
So he says, "Well, first thing you need to do is go join the Musicians Union." I said, "Hold it right there." I shot off, signed up for the union, and I think I was the youngest guy to join the Musicians Union at that time.
Wow. So how old were you when you joined the Musicians Union?
About 16.
Oh, 16. Wow.
Yeah. New kid on the block, and then shortly after that, I think the next record I did was a huge hit with a band called The Trogs. Wild Thing, You Make My Heart Sing, and all that kind of
Oh, my goodness. You make everything.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I got pulled in. I used to play on all of their records.
Wow. So were you on that song?
Yeah.
Caleb, I'm going to download that to my playlist. I'm going to make a Pastor Caleb playlist.
Don't hurt yourself now.
Wow. That's incredible. Like I said, there's so much to you.
Yeah.
We worked together, with Foursquare, in Foursquare at the national office.
Yeah.
And you're always so humble. I never saw all of the photos. Of course, maybe not so appropriate, you with, Mick Jagger or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, wow, what a remarkable life you lived and all of the wonderful things you've had to do. So when did you start working with Elton John, and when did you meet Elton John? Where did you meet him? Was it in the studio?
No, we first met right out of high school.
Okay.
So I was 15, he was 16, and we just left our respective schools, and we were working in Tin Pan Alley, a place called Denmark Street, which was the center of the music publishing business in England at that time, in London. So we were office boys, making coffee, and I was running errands and picking up. I had to go to various music publishers and get their orders and stuff for sheet music.
Okay.
And I met him in one of the publishing houses, Mills Music. And we met over a cup of tea. First thing he said, "Oh, would you like a cup of tea?" I said, "Oh, yeah. And we started talking music and struck up a friendship. And we would, at the end of the week when we got paid, we would, just go to the record stores and spend all our money on buying records and listening to music." Yeah. And then I got this job at Dick James Music, which was the Beatles' music publishing company.
Oh, so wow.
They were the biggest publishing company in town.
Oh, yes.
And so I got a job in there, and just when I started, they were in the process of opening up their own recording studio and developing their own record label. And this was being led by Dick's son, Stephen. But we knew that Stephen wasn't good. That's not what he was eventually going to be doing long term, because he was being groomed to eventually take over the business. So they recognized that I had musical talent, and I was really showing interest in the studio side of things, And so they handed the studio over to me. So at age 17, I was managing the studio as a studio engineer, playing sessions, writing, and I was the A&R guy for this fledgling record label.
Wow.
And so I was the guy that got Elton and Bernie Taupin signed to Dick James Music, got their first publishing and recording contract, and helped change his name from Reg Dwight to Elton John.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is pretty historical, if I can say that.
Yeah, it really is. And so that whole story is in my movie that's coming out, because they've kind of kept that quiet. So the truth is, without me, there's no Elton John.
Yeah. Seriously. And even the partnership that you brought him and his producer together. That's
yeah. Oh yeah.
crazy.
And you know what? They've just this is like, wow, over 50 years now. They're just about to release a package. I think they're calling it Diamonds or something, that contain all the early demos that I produced.
Okay.
This is coming out. Elton's releasing it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
There's old pictures in there of us taken in 1968. It's just, yeah.
That was one of the fun things, was just going through all the photos. First of all, I know that you're a very, just a happy, joyful person, but I was like, oh, Caleb must have been cray. If that would have been a word, you would have been Quaye back in the day.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I had my time. Absolutely. I know I'm saved. I got to tell you. Oh, it's been proved time and again. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
true. Amazing. So I know you worked with Elton John, and then there were a few others that were noted, like Hall & Oates.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just floored. There was a quote that I had come across, that Eric Clapton was on the David Letterman show.
Right. Yeah.
And he was complimented by Letterman as being the best guitarist in the world.
Yeah. Which
Clapton replied, "No, that's a guy named Caleb Quaye is the best guitarist in the world." And I was like, "Wow, that's Eric Clapton." And you are an incredible guitarist. And obviously, I've never heard, but I've only seen.
Sure.
I'm basing it off of the videos that I've seen. And my dad is a guitar player.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, Dad, you need to get on this. You need to watch this tonight, because I know you know Caleb Quaye. Craig. I know you know Craig Quaye.
Oh my! Great. Oh, that's great. Oh boy.
So just some questions that I have, and those of you that are watching, write some questions down, because we are going to have a time of Q&A. And I loved also, Caleb, that you mentioned tea, because in honor of you today, our team, we're drinking some hot tea. We've got, oh, yes.
Got the red bus on there. I love it.
I love it. I'm so glad.
Mm-hmm.
I've only been to London to London once.
Okay.
And we'll jump back on where we're headed. But, I love Europe. There's so many things that, Paris, and I think it's just all of the things that you've seen in TV and all of that. So I was always like, oh, I love Paris. I want to live in Paris. So I've, been there twice. However, it was one trip to London. And I said, if the Lord let me live anywhere, so you can live anywhere, it would be there.
Yeah, oh boy.
I couldn't get enough of Buckingham Palace. I'm like, I need to be here every day. I need to see the changing of the guards. Queen Elizabeth is in that house. Yes, I'll be praying for her because I love her.
Yeah.
Have you ever met the Queen?
I've never met her, no.
Okay, never the Queen. Okay. But it's just so exciting to be there. So how long did you live there? How old were you when you came over to the States?
I was 25.
Okay.
Until I was age 25, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what brought you to the States?
It was music.
Music.
Yeah. Elton's thing had taken off real big. Excuse me. And the music scene back then, so we're talking about 1974 is when I moved over. And the music scene back then had changed. It had gone into what they used to call the glitter scene.
Okay.
And I wasn't, so things were becoming less about music and more about image.
Ah,
and I didn't like that.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great.
I'd always been influenced by American music,
Hmm.
so I thought, you know what, I need to get over to America and just go after the music, which is what I did.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so then you come over to the States, and then so I know you played with, was it Peter Townsend maybe?
Yeah,
And
yeah, hmm
Hall and Oates,
yeah.
and so
It
how
was
long were you
touring with
playing?
Elton as well.
Oh, and you were still touring with Elton as well?
Touring with Elton, yeah. Did big tours with Elton over here, yeah. Hmm.
Okay. One of my favorite songs is, I have so many songs of Elton that I like, and some of them you probably are on, and then others I know were
Hmm.
maybe a little bit later. Let's see. I was just going, oh my goodness, and of course, "Don't Go Breaking My Heart."
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh, oh little Genie, that. Oh,
Uh-huh.
I was so young. I loved. We had Elton John LPs in my home. We had Elton John
Okay.
vinyls. And then, I'm an 80s girl. And so I did love the British boy bands, Duran Duran and
All right.
Culture Club and Wham and Flock of Seagulls and the Eurythmics, not just the boy band. I just liked
Yeah.
the music that came
Uh-huh.
from the UK. But then I was looking at, did I say Tiny Dancer?
Yes.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to tell you, I love that song, ever since I can remember hearing it. But it took just one instance for that song to never be the same again in my mind. So
Huh.
we're gonna watch a quick clip of why I can no longer hear Tiny Dancer anymore.
The most romantic song ever was The Way We Were.
See, I think the one that Elton John wrote for that guy on Who's the Boss.
What song is that, Phoebes?
Hold me close, young Tony Danza.
Tony Danza. That's great.
I remember laughing so hard when I
That's
saw
great.
that. Have you ever seen that episode?
I've never seen that. No, that's so funny. That's great.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So now I always think of Tony Danza whenever I hear that song
Oh, that's great.
instead of Tiny Dancer. But great song. So out of, you've played with so many artists, and I don't even know that you could have a tally. Maybe you do. Is there like a top three that you'd say I really enjoyed playing musically? Man, when I was playing with this band or with this artist, it was unreal. Who would those be?
Boy. Well, one would be obviously Elton John.
Okay.
Elton John, definitely. There was a band that I had called Hookfoot,
Okay.
and we were very tightly connected with Elton John. We actually were the rhythm section for some of his early recordings.
Okay.
That was up there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed working with Pete Townsend as well.
Okay.
Especially on the soundtrack to the Tommy movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I need to.
And especially when someone like Pete Townsend says, "Boy, I wish I could play like you. I always wanted to play like you." I'm thinking, man.
Wow. Truly a gift, that you've been given. And I do want to elaborate on that based on something that I heard. I was, attending a conference live, and you had mentioned this. Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, that is crazy, and again, it just goes back to, I think, the humility that you have and just your love and your passion for the music, because that to me would be more of the drive and I would say that just even in things in my life, when I see other people that excel in the same areas but have a little bit of a different gifting, because everybody has something different. And I always think there's not a need for competition. There's not a need for people to be jealous of somebody else, because everyone brings something different, even if you all have a similar gifting. Every guitarist is different. Every guitarist has a different experience. Every guitarist has a different upbringing and something that makes him or her feel the way that they do when they play. And I say him or her because I realize that there are also female guitarists and bass players. My aunt was an incredible bass player for years.
Oh,
And then she found the Lord, and so I think she looked a lot at her band years as just kind of that old life, and so she still does things now, you know, for the Lord, but more choir and the piano and singing and things like that. So I love that. You know, I think that's so powerful. So now let's fast forward. So you come over to the States now, and I want to talk a little bit about, you know, this show's called A New Thing. And, you know, there are things in all of our lives where we experience that are new in different seasons. So I remembered, you know, watching a video clip of you sharing how, you know, one day you weren't looking for God.
all right. Yeah.
Just one day you were sitting and you heard something. Would you share and talk a little bit about that with us?
Sure. Well, this is in 1978, and I was working with Hall & Oates at the time, and we were out on the road quite a bit. Used to do long tours back then, like 6 months tours. And so 1978, it was on my 30th birthday, which was October the 9th, 1978.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And so we did a show in Atlanta in a place called the Omni Theater, and it was adjacent to the Omni Hotel where we stayed. So after the show, we went back to the hotel, and I remember we were on the 9th floor, and the band and the road crew decided to throw a surprise birthday party. So I'm in my room, and all of a sudden the door bursts open, and they barge in there, and they got this enormous birthday cake on a trolley. They wheeled it in, and it's the most illegal birthday cake you've ever seen in your life. Let's just put it that way. There's all kinds of illegal substances all over this cake. So we plowed into this all through the night, and about 5 o'clock in the morning, everybody crawled out of my room, and I'm just sat there on my own in a chair with my back to the window on the 9th floor of the Omni Hotel. And in the midst of this silence, all of a sudden, I hear a voice speak to me. The voice was so loud, I actually thought somebody had come into my room, and I turned around to see, you know, who it was. There was nobody there.
Wow.
And the voice said to me, called me by my name and says, Caleb, from this point on, your life is going to be completely different, and nothing's going to be the same for you ever again. And so I sat there, and all of a sudden, it's like I'm no longer high on the drugs and everything. I'm stone cold sober, sitting in the midst of what I can only describe as an electric silence.
Wow.
And in my limited understanding, all I knew was that I had been spoken to, but I just did not know by whom. So I just sat there and made a promise to myself, and I said, one day I'm going to find out who that voice belongs to.
Oh.
And so we packed up, you know, next day, and we, you know, went on the road, continuing on the road. Now, as you know, in rock and roll, you know, you're supposed to be dead by 30. You've heard all the stories, you know. So word went out in the industry that Caleb had just turned 30. So I would bump into various musicians on the road. I remember bumping into Brian May of Quaye. Knew him very well. Bumped into at O'Hare Airport. You know, we were changing flights, you know. And he says to me, hey man, I just heard you just turned 30. What happened? Like as if I'm suddenly supposed to fall over or something. You know? So I told him the same story I just told you. And the response I got, not only from him, but from, you know, other musicians, was pretty interesting. It was like, wow, man, that's really far out. What were you smoking, and where can we get some? You know?
Yeah.
And I would go, no, you don't understand. This was a real thing. This was a voice I really heard. And I always tell people, you know, when God speaks to you, you can't shake it. You can try and run and hide and duck and dive, but when God speaks to you, his voice sticks, you know, and I could not shake what I'd heard, you know. No amount of drink or anything else could get rid of what I had heard, you know.
Yes.
And so, so that was that episode. And then, sure enough, when that tour finished, that band broke up at around Christmas time. I went back home, which was here in Los Angeles. And basically, everything in my life that could go wrong, it went wrong.
Mm.
And this was a period of a few years. So it was 1978. Fast forward to 1980. I meet this guy, Chester Thompson, who was Phil Collins' drummer with Genesis, Phil Collins. And he invited me to play, to join his band. He was putting this little jazz group together. And we were rehearsing for a concert, you know, down in Malibu we were going to play. And he used to tell me that him and his wife were Christians, you know, and I would say, oh, yeah, well, that's good for you. Yeah, you go to church, great, you know. But there was something about this guy that was different.
Mm.
We were the same age. We're in the same line of work, but he's not crazy. He ain't doing any drugs. He is like rock solid. He's at peace. And I used to think to myself, this guy, he's got hold of something.
Yes.
And whatever it is, I want it.
It's good.
I can only describe it. What I observed in him was a peace and a solidity. He's like his feet were firmly planted on solid ground. And, you know, nothing could move this guy. He wasn't impressed with the craziness or anything else. You know, he just wasn't like the other musicians in the business that I was in.
Right.
And I thought myself, this guy, whatever he's got, I need this. I want this. You know.
Yeah.
And we had this interesting conversation. I call it the setup. And so I would have to go to his house. He had a studio at his house. We'd rehearse all day with the band. At the end of the day, his wife would cook us this meal, which we still joke about today. We call it the anointed African stew. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I want some of that.
Yeah. And so, you know, so she'd serve this meal. It'd just be the three of us sat around the table, and I would wolf down this food, and she would wait until I finished and put my knife and fork down. The minute I put my knife and fork down, she says to me, well, Caleb, why don't you go ahead and tell us just exactly what do you believe? Logical question, right? So I would launch off into this like 40-minute monologue of complete rubbish. It started somewhere around Star Trek, and it would kind of morph its way into astrology and Eastern mysticism and a few rabbit's feet. And then it would wind itself down with this age-old justification for doing drugs that goes along the lines of, well, you know, man, potatoes and vegetables, they're made by God, they grow in the ground, and marijuana grows in the same ground as this. Surely that's okay with God too, right? And my friend Chester would just sit across the table with his arms folded like this, very patient. They didn't open a Bible, they didn't preach or nothing like that. He just very patiently waited until I ran out of gas. And he would simply say to me, yeah, man, I know what you mean, man. You just need Jesus.
Aww.
And when he said that, it was like inside, I was boiling mad at him. I couldn't figure out. Didn't he understand what I was trying to say? I mean, I'm a pretty good communicator. Didn't he get it? And all he's got is you just need Jesus? Is that all you got? What? And what made it worse was I had to go home to my place, and I like to sleep. You know, I lay down on the bed. My eyeballs are wide open. I ain't getting no sleep. All I can hear is these 4 words. You just need Jesus. Just banging on my chest, just rattling around inside of me. And now this whole conversation I just described to you repeated itself every day for a week.
Wow.
So, folks, if you've ever seen Groundhog Day, that's what we're talking about. So it was like, okay, what are we doing today? Go to the studio, rehearse, eat the African stew, ask the question, hit the monologue, you know, you just need Jesus, go back home, lay on the bed, we ain't getting no sleep, you just need Jesus, get up, do the same thing over again every day for a week.
Wow.
Be crazy. So at the end of that week, now at the time I'm living in a house, I'm sharing a house with a roadie. It's a very illegal house. There's all kinds of dealing and stupidity going on. And at the end of the week, you know, Chester calls me up one day. It was a Sunday morning. And it just happened to be Easter Day, 1982.
Okay.
He calls me up. He says, hey man, what are you doing today? I said, nothing much. He says, why don't you come to church with us today? It's Easter. And when he said that, I've got the phone to my ear and it's like the world stopped. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've tried everything else. Why not church? So I said, okay, I'll come to church with you. You know, he said, great. Me and my wife, we'll pick you up. So they picked me up and they take me to this church. And it was a brand new church. It's then the church on the way in Van Nuys.
Ah.
And they're doing their first Easter service in what was then their brand new facility called the living room. So, of course, you know, with churches and Easter, they're pulling out all the stops, right?
Yes.
So first impressions are everything, because the last time I'd set foot in a church was when I was a young kid, you know, 14 years old, in a church I used to sing at in England,
Right.
which was built in the 12th century.
Woo! Yeah. Quite a difference there.
Oh, boy. So my first impression was there's no way this can be a church because these people are happy. Because, you know, you walk into the foyer and there's people milling around, hugging one another, doing the fellowship thing, you know, and they're all happy and smiling and everything. And I thought, this is not a church. These people are happy, you know. And then we go into the sanctuary, go through these two doors in the sanctuary. The first thing I see is this engineer sat behind a huge mixing console, big Yamaha desk, you know.
Yeah.
And I look at the platform and I can see drums and bass and guitars and stuff. And I'm thinking, no way, this is a church. It's supposed to be the organ, you know. I grew up with a 12th century organ, you know.
Yes.
So I thought, oh, I know what's going on there. Chester has taken me to a surprise gig. And any minute now, the Grateful Dead are going to come out and just blow us all away, you know.
Did you really think that?
I really did, yeah. I thought, this is a gig.
Wow.
I had no framework of reference at all. So they start the service, and by this time they're doing, you know, what would be called contemporary choruses.
Mm-hmm.
I was used to the old hymns. Well, they're not doing the old hymns. They're doing these choruses, and they started to sing this very simple chorus called "In My Life Be Glorified."
Oh, yes.
Be glorified today. It just goes loops around, you know, be glorified today. I'm listening to this song, and all of a sudden, you know, I've got my musician's ears analyzing the chord changes and the melody. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is nice. This is really sweet, you know.
Yeah.
And it was really, it's like God started to do a number on my hearing because I couldn't hear the whole lyric. It seemed like everything was shrouded in a fog except one word, which was today. So to me, the lyric sounded like, today, you know, thinking, what is going on with today? What's the deal with today? Something's up with today. This is a different kind of today I've ever experienced before today. You know? And as I'm trying to process what is going on here,
Right.
the same voice I heard in the hotel room that I promised myself one day I'd find out who it belongs to, speaks to me in the middle of that one word crazy tune and says, Caleb, it's time for you to come home to me today because I have a new life for you. Wow. Then the light bulb went on. Then I realized, now I found out who that voice belongs to, and that's Jesus.
Yes. Wow.
I'm in church. These people are singing to Jesus. They're not crazy. They're singing to Jesus. And he spoke, and it was the same voice I'd heard in the hotel room. So that's when I said the most important yes that I believe a human being can ever say is when you say yes to God. You say yes to Jesus.
Amen. That is so good. Wow, that's a powerful story.
Yeah, yeah.
How long was it from the time that you heard that voice, in Atlanta, in the hotel in Atlanta, to that day at Church on the Way in Van Nuys?
That would be 4 years, 3.5, 4 years. Yeah, about 3.5 years. Yeah.
He's so very patient.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
He's so very patient. I wouldn't say that I heard a loud voice, but I remember being at a party, and I think I was 21 or 22, and everyone's dancing, and it's almost like I came out of myself, and then I felt like we were a bunch of young adults in the middle of the Pinocchio cartoon, like on Pleasure Island.
Okay.
I could swear I heard donkeys going ee-yaw, ee-yaw. Seeing tails everywhere, beer in my hand, and I just thought, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Had this. It was just like, I don't belong here. This is dumb. Why does everybody have to drink to have a good time?
Right.
And so, but wow, so very patient. I love that you had that moment because you did want to know truth. You were saying, okay, I don't know whose voice that is, but I do want to know.
Right.
I do want to know whose voice that is. That's so powerful.
Yeah. And I was at a time in my life where I was really looking for answers about this life. I mean, I'd experienced a lot as a young man, and I was looking for answers, that I could find in the world system, or in in the things that the world deems to be successful or success. They could not fix my internal condition.
Ooh, that's so good. Yeah, because really on the external, you had everything going for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And so now you met Lydia. Was that in 1984?
We got married in 84. We met in 83. Yeah.
Okay. So where did you meet Lydia?
At Church on the Way.
Church on the Way.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. And I had no idea that you were a grandfather.
3 daughters, 2 grandchildren. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. My mom loves being a grandmother, so I know you must love enjoy being a grandmother.
Oh, yeah. We spoil them and then hand them back.
Now, are they in the California area?
Not anymore. No, actually the grandkids now are in Florida. They moved down to Florida. Yeah.
Okay.
But we're in touch. We do Zoom and, FaceTime and all this, Yeah.
Yes. Are any of them musically inclined and have that in their DNA? Or
no.
Okay.
No.
Aw. Well, still, that sounds like a whole lot of fun to be
absolutely.
a grandfather.
Yeah.
And I know you're a fun grandfather at that. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
With some wonderful stories. I do wish, my grandmother was a piano teacher, and she was deemed the grandmother of music in this little community named Oakwood College in Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
So she was Little Richard's piano teacher, and
what?
Yes, and some of the Take Six were some of her piano students, and so she was my piano teacher in first grade. So the first song I remember playing was "To God Be the Glory" by Andre Crouch. Yeah. So thankful for the grandparents that can just instill those things in you that take you, carry you through to the person that you are today. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
So I want to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to kind of bring this to a close. Again, for those of you that may have questions, we're going to take about 3 questions to ask Caleb before we end our wonderful episode today. So Rocket Man was released. Is it on Netflix maybe now or something like that? Or Prime? Not really sure.
Out on Netflix. I think they've started showing it on Prime as well now.
Okay, on Prime. Okay. And so it looks like there's a song that you co-wrote with Elton John that's on that soundtrack listing. Yeah, and we had a really enjoyable time. I was like listening to it, and it's like, a little bit, it is very Elton John-ish.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like definitely, like if I didn't know that his name was in it, I would say, oh, that kind of sounds like a song that Elton John would write.
one of the early demos.
Okay.
I was shocked he put that in there. I thought, this is something. This is great. So
no, it was fun. I haven't looked at the lyrics yet, but it sounded like a lot of fun. And so more importantly, on a more personal note for you, you have a wonderful project that's coming out this February.
yes, ma'am.
So we're gonna show a real quick clip, and then we want to hear all about it.
Okay, great.
Okay, all right.
I saw a black face, and I said, "Who is this?"
Caleb was involved with Elton really from the very beginning.
Caleb worked for, which was Dick James Music.
Caleb used to come next door with the acetates of some of the Beatles stuff and go, ew.
Caleb's illicit use of the studio was the springboard for Elton's career.
Caleb's guitar playing made some of those early Elton tracks, probably the classic one being Tumbleweed Connection.
What it produced were some of the best pop rock songs ever in the history of the genre.
He can play almost everything you throw at him.
I stole a lot of stuff from him, I hate to admit it.
He became Christian, and that's when everything turned. He just was fervent. He was just like that aggressiveness went all the way to the Lord.
More than into music, Caleb became into the Lord. He's an outstanding man. He's not just an enjoyable person.
The situation changed, and he found Jesus, which is fine. Found the old man.
Caleb's legacy would be, hopefully, to those that get to know him, a triumph.
Louder than rock.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened to you in the hotel.
Exactly right.
Did you come up with that title?
Yeah.
Woo, that's powerful. So you said that for you, this project has been ongoing, but before we get into how it was birthed and how it came about, I want to congratulate you. I do have written down here somewhere in my notes. You won an award recently. You won the San Diego Black Film Festival for documentary this year.
Yeah. Yes.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Wow. What a wonderful. I'm just so excited to see how God's using you in all these different ways. You're just branching out different streams.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about Louder Than Rock. How did this concept of this documentary come to be? And we've got some great questions that people are asking, so I can't wait to go there.
Oh, okay. Well, it came from a book. I'd written my autobiography back. It was published back in 2006.
Okay.
And so it really came from there. That serves as the script for the movie.
Okay.
So the movie it's a documentary. So there's no actors in it. It's all live people, live interviews, including myself. And what we did, we just, the director of the movie, she had 6 questions. We had 6 questions, and everybody that was interviewed was asked the same 6 questions, and we just let them roll. So it came out very, very well. And, my story is so closely associated with Elton John's career.
Yes.
That what this is, it's the only first person account of the beginnings of his career. There is no other. There is no other. So it's a piece of music history as well as being my own personal story.
Wow. I love documentaries, so I'm really excited to be able to watch this, and releases on February 1st, correct?
Yeah, that's what it's scheduled for. So yeah, hopefully COVID don't mess it up or whatever.
Yes, for sure.
Sure. That's what we're looking at. Yeah.
Well, that's And let me see, I feel like there was one more award you had won for this as well. Can you remind me? Because I'm so sorry, Caleb. I've got all my notes everywhere. This is terrible.
Another award we won. I think there was something like Best New Project or something.
Okay.
At an Los Angeles film festival just a few years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is awesome, and I'm so excited. Account of that time in history.
Yeah.
But
And
because it's your whole story, I'm so excited to watch that.
Yeah, some of the people that we interviewed are now no longer with us. They passed away because we're all getting a bit older now. So it's a unique piece of slice of history,
Sure.
And
yeah.
And it should set the it'll set the record straight, the historical record straight, with regards to the Rocket Man movie. Yeah.
Okay. I would imagine a lot of room for creative, like.
This is no fantasy. This is the real thing.
This is why I like documentaries. By the way.
I do too. Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, being a creative, I do enjoy the creative liberties, of course. But when it comes to things like this, when you are looking at a biography of someone's story, I like for it to be as accurate as possible, because then you're also learning, and then even more so with what you're saying, it's historical, as well.
Yeah. I mean, I look back and, like you asked earlier on, when did we first meet, me and Elton John? We were teenagers, we were fresh out of us, and we started on this project, started making music purely out of the love of music.
Yeah.
We had no inkling. It wasn't on our radar that 50 years later,
right,
we'd be in the history books with this music. I mean, the first Elton John album is now in the Grammy Museum. My face is on that cover. It's in the Grammy Museum.
Wow.
And it was selected as one of 24 recordings that they considered to be the most iconic recordings of the 20th century.
Wow. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
What doing?
Well, here's the thing. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's the good news.
Yeah.
I remember, hearing you share a little bit about how a man's gift makes room for himself. I look at so many different artists, and some that know the Lord and some that don't. But to me, clearly, all the gifts do come from the Lord.
That's right.
So do you want to elaborate on that before we jump into some of these questions? Because I think what you had to say in Nashville was spot on.
Yeah, that thing about the gifting, it's what I call, it's a kingdom perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, Book of James, New Testament says every good and perfect gift comes down from the Father of God. In Genesis 1, you have this interesting thing when God creates man. He says, let us make man in our image.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes on to say, and let them have dominion over the earth.
Mm.
Now, he could have just stopped at let's make man in our image and left us to just get on with it, But right? Because at the time when he said let's make man in our image, the rest of creation was already flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, let them have dominion over creation and subdue the creation, right?
Yes.
So what's that about? I think, and I'm actually thinking of writing a book about this, is that dominion was a gift. It's the gift of dominion. And in that gift of dominion is all the creativity of man. Because I believe God's purpose for man was to subdue creation for the blessing of humanity that was to come forth, because he told Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply.
Yes.
So God is inviting us in this gift of dominion to not only look like him, but to function like him.
Mm-hmm.
So he says to Adam, here's the animals. What are you going to call them? So he speaks, and they are.
That's good.
He speaks, and they are.
Wow.
I think, and that was before the fall. Obviously, when the fall hit, then it all got messed up,
Yes.
But when you look at things like science, for instance, what does science do? Science subdues, it researches, it extracts from creation to produce medicine, hopefully for the blessing of humanity.
Yes.
So science is a gift of dominion.
Mm.
And all these other things. Same with music, the creative arts, all of it. It's part of the dominion gift for the blessing of humanity.
I've never heard that before, but that really resonates with me, and I think with a lot of people that would, be watching, whether now or on demand, would say that would resonate with them as well. And it's why it sometimes I'll say, "Oh, that ministered to my soul," It might not even be a song that's, talking about the Lord, but it's,
sure.
I might be seeing, someone in concert, which pre-COVID days, and, you're as happy as a clam and hands are lifted up and, you're moving and all that, but that makes so much sense. That's so good. I never, ever have heard it taught like that before.
Yeah. You think of painters, especially back in, the Leonardos and all that, the old painters, they would use natural elements to create their colors.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they doing? They're subduing creation for the purpose of art to reflect something of the beauty, the creative beauty of God.
That's so good. Yes, I think a book is in the future.
Pray it in for me, sister. Pray it in. Yeah, absolutely. No, really, it's very real. It's very real to me.
So good. Well, I'm looking forward now even to getting your first book, which is also Louder Than Rock. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that is in the process. That's being republished.
Okay.
That will be out in the new year on Amazon. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're going to have you back on the show.
Love to. Yeah.
That would be wonderful, just to really focus more on that side of things, of course, but do you have a time for just a couple of questions, Pastor Caleb?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, by all means.
Okay, so we have a question from Diana from Facebook. So we have Facebook and YouTube viewers right now.
Okay.
One of the questions, there's a couple of questions that she has, but have you encountered many undercover Christians in the music industry? And she might be making reference to that based on what you had shared with Chester Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So the answer is a big yes. God has his people functioning, outside of the four walls of the church.
Yes.
And being a witness, in all kinds of creative ways,
Yes, I love that. Yeah. That's so good. This is a fun, creative question. If you had a chance to perform a duet with any singer now, who would it be and with what instrument? That comes from Patricia on Facebook.
Okay. To perform. Well, it would be on guitar, that's for sure.
Okay.
That's my main instrument. To perform with any, she talking about a current singer, current?
She said any singer now.
Any singer now.
Even any singer now or.
I can't think of, boy, you've stumped me on that one.
You played with all the good ones already.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. I would love to do something with Elton, just for old time's sake.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to do something with him. That would work well,
yes.
Because we put a lot of time into creating that sound, and I know it would be pretty easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
It would be fun. It would be fun to do.
It was just fun watching the two of you, on some of the video clips that, I was like, wow. I was like, what was going through their mind? And, you know, because, you know, sometimes I'll lead, you know, the times I've had the opportunity to lead worship, you know, even in that, there's that connecting with your team, looking at, you know, doing the signals off to the side, you know. But I mean, you're just like, you know, just going for it.
It was a lot of fun, you know, and I think one of the reasons, and I know Elton would agree with this, is that we were friends.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't like just a bunch of guys just thrown into something to make a product. There was a strong relational chemistry there. We spent time together. I used to sleep over at his house with his mom. You know, he used to sleep over at my house, him and Bernie, you know, on our way to the studio. We spent a lot of time together, you know, and just laughing and buying music and listening to records, you know.
Yes.
So all of that was in that music, you know. So it was very easy to make those records.
Yeah.
You know,
so how did
go on.
No, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I was just gonna say it really was a labor of love.
Yes. I love that. And so obviously he knows about your conversion, that you found the Lord, you met the Lord, you know, and what are his thoughts, or, you know, what has he said to you about that?
Not a whole lot. He's not too happy about it. You know, he has his own life. He you know, he's not in sync with Romans 1, so, you know, that's fine. That's where he is. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's like, you know, so he's still yet to deal with that one.
Yeah. Well, it's just exciting to see that it's good to know there's still a really beautiful friendship and relationship.
Oh yeah, he knows I love him. Absolutely. Yeah. We just live in two different universes.
Of course. Okay, a few more questions. This one's a little bit similar to Patricia's. This comes from Griselda on YouTube. Is there an artist that you wish you got to play with but didn't get the opportunity to?
Whoa. Boy. That's a good one. Boy, oh boy.
You can tell everybody that it's me. I don't mind.
You know what? I was just going to say.
You'll be like, what did her grandma teach her on the piano?
Oh boy. I'd have to think of, no, I can't think of one. You know, kind of off the top of my head, I would say could be Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
Even though I saw him play many times and was totally mesmerized because he was so far beyond any of us at that time. You know, he changed the whole, you know, the paradigm. So, and if he'd have asked me at that time, I would have been scared stiff. I would just be like, where do you even start? You know?
Yeah.
But looking back, I would say I would like to have jammed with him because I was good friends with his drummer, Mitch Mitchell. You know, and actually I was with Mitch on the day he auditioned for Hendrix.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, back in '66. Yeah. So he would have been one, but outside of that, you know, gosh, no, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head there. There's people I love to listen to, but there's some stuff that I just couldn't pull off, couldn't really fit in. You know, so I mean, people like Chick Corea or Herbie Hancock. I mean, I love listening to that stuff, but I would be very, you know, caged about what I don't think I'd be a comfortable fit in there. You know, so being a good musician, you have to know your limitations. You know, you don't want to bite more than you can chew. You know, so yeah, I can't think of it. Anything.
Well, I think the Jimi Hendrix answer serves as a good one. Yeah, that would have been phenomenal to hear.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So we have another question from Vivian on Facebook. She says, I recently got my grandson now I don't know this, so I hope I'm saying this right, a 1/4 size guitar.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. He's only 2.
Oh,
How young is too young? His dad wants to teach him. Good question.
You know what? You're never too young for music. Never too young for music. You know, so I started playing when I was 4. But even at age 2, I mean, your hands are going to be small enough, you know, a little too small to form a chord or something. But you could still get a sense of touch.
Right.
And start to identify notes and things, you know. So you're never too young for music. It's part of God. It's part of God's creation. You know?
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
You know, I would say there's something, you know, people think it's so cute when you see the kids dancing, and I'm like, yeah, because it's just music is in us.
Absolutely.
Nobody taught them to start, you know, bouncing up and down when they hear the beat or the rhythm, but there's just something in us already innately. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, God is very musical. You can find it in I'll give you a couple of examples. Job chapter 38, when God is talking to Job and says, "Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? When the morning stars sang together and the sons of God shouted for joy."
Yes.
And in Hebrew 4, the way that is laid out is that at the time of creation, there was all this music going on in heaven.
Yeah.
And God, who is love, at the climax of that music, he had to create. So that's when he said, "Let there be light."
Wow.
So when he said, "Let there be light," is to the accompaniment of this music that was going on, you know. And then you have in Zephaniah 3, you have that great passage where the Lord your God, the mighty one, is with you, and he rejoices over you with singing.
Yes.
Oh, so God is singing over us.
Yeah.
So it's very musical.
Mm.
So he's got melody and he's got groove.
Yeah. Hey, I never thought of it that way, but you're right about that. I love that. Yes, he's got melody. Oh yeah, he probably is like doing the little shuffle.
Sure, absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yes, and I feel like I would say yes, because that's what, when I hear music, I was like, oh yeah, there it is.
That's his gift. That's his gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay, I've got 1.5 more, because the second one, the last one, is going to take us into our transition to our last part of the show. But someone on Facebook is asking if you knew Eddie Van Halen. As we know, he recently passed, and what your thoughts were about him.
You know, I never knew him personally, but a great admirer of his playing. Tremendous musician. I mean, hands down, a wonderful guitar player. No question.
Yes.
You know, I mean, just so sorry that he's gone. You know, you know, unfortunately, and I'm not casting any judgment or anything, but he did live a certain kind of lifestyle, and that I think cost him. I know he cleaned up, you know, in the later years, but left you know, he paid a price there. But amazing musician, a great heart. Everybody, I know people that do know him or did know him, and nobody has a bad thing to say about him as a person, you know.
Yes,
so,
and you're right, a great musician indeed.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Okay, we have one, and we're going to end with this. Is from a musician's perspective, what is one, and this comes from Diana, what is one or two of your favorite hymns?
Oh, I've got one right here. This is a song called "Before the Throne of God."
Oh yes, perfect.
Now, probably a lot of young people don't know it today. It's actually a tune written, I think, in the 1800s.
Oh wow!
A lady by the name of Charity L. Bancroft.
Okay.
And then it was rearranged by a friend of mine called Stuart Townend. He was an English guy, worship leader guy. great hymn writer guy. In fact, Stuart co-wrote "In Christ Alone" with Keith Getty.
The one in Christ alone, I place my trust. Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
That's a powerful song right there.
Christ alone, who put on flesh. In Christ alone, my hope is found.
Oh,
my strength.
another in Christ alone.
Yeah, but this one, before the throne of God. The words are amazing. It's just great doctrine. Before the throne of God above, I have a strong and perfect plea, a great high priest whose name is love, whoever lives and pleads for me. My name is graven on his hands, my name is written on his heart. I know that while in heaven he stands, no tongue can bid me thence depart. No tongue can bid me thence depart. When Satan tempts me to despair and tells me of the guilt within, upward I look and see him there, who made an end to all my sin. Because the sinless Savior died, my sinful soul is counted free. For God the just is satisfied to look on him and pardon me. To look on him and pardon me. Behold him there, the risen Lamb, my perfect, spotless righteousness, the great unchangeable I am, the King of glory and of grace. One with himself, I cannot die. My soul is purchased with his blood. My life is hid with Christ on high, with Christ my Savior and my God, with Christ my Savior and my God. Beautiful words.
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh,
My pleasure.
I love that. There's something about hymnals, it's like anytime I'm at a service or something where you're singing a hymnal, tears will just start. They're just so simple, but the doctrine and the message is so powerful. And I think because you really get to focus on the words and really thinking about, what Jesus did for every one of us, the love that he has. So thank you so much for sharing your gift of music with us, Pastor Caleb.
My pleasure.
Yes, and we want to thank you again just for being on our show today. And I said I'm going to have you back.
Yeah, that's good.
We're excited for you. We're going to be looking out for Louder Than Rock. And we do have 2 giveaways coming up. So we're just going to mention them real quick. For those of you on Facebook, the first person named 2 artists that Caleb has played with. He mentioned quite a few, as did I, on Facebook. That is your question. The first person that answers that will win a fun giveaway. What we're giving? Oh, that's right. We're giving away fun little tea can.
Yes.
In honor of the UK, and that's so cute. Everyone loves those. Everyone's got to take a picture in a red phone booth. And then on YouTube, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, what is the title of Caleb's movie releasing this February? So for those of you that answer first on YouTube and Facebook, then you will be the lucky winner of this cute little tin can of tea. So get your answers in right away. Pastor Caleb, it has been an honor having you with us, and your wisdom and the gifts that God's given you, and just thank you for sharing your journey. I mean, that's a little portion of it, and it was, you did a lot in a little bit of time. So I just really appreciate.
Thanks so much. It's been fun.
It's been wonderful. It's been so much fun. Blessings to you and your family, and we will look for your new movie release coming out this February.
I'll keep you posted. Absolutely. Great.
All right, Pastor Caleb. Have a great day. Thank you so much, Caleb Quaye, on A New Thing Live.
Thanks.
Wow, what a wonderful, wonderful gift we had. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us today. What a treat to even have Caleb ending with a song, a hymnal that he was ready. Great segue question, Diana. I know that you didn't mean to do it, but you did. So don't forget, we're on Mondays. If you haven't yet subscribed to YouTube, even if you're watching us on Facebook, head over to YouTube, A New Thing Live, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Really, this is meant to be a show to bring inspiration and just hearing people's stories. We've all gone through stuff, but not everything has to end on a bad note. Every one of us has the choice and a chance for things to end on a good note and to experience that new thing live. And so we're going to show Pastor Caleb's information. If you bring that up, do we not have it on there? Okay, I'm so sorry. I thought we did. So you want to just follow him on Instagram, Caleb Quaye, and then you can also Louder Than Rock. That is also his Instagram. And then also the movie Louder Than Rock is louderthanrock.com. So you want to head on over there and give him some support and show him your love, and just be looking for his movie on February 1st. And then I'll be looking forward to seeing you next Monday. We have Kelsey Lee Holland back with us. She is YouTube fitness expert, health, feeling good about yourself. And then we have Blams Her Heart. CEO founder Lizbeth. She's going to be with us next week as well. So tune in. It's going to be an awesome time. You are going to be inspired. We have giveaways every show, and I'm getting a hot flash now, so I'm going to sign off now. But y'all have a blessed week, and we'll see you next week on A New Thing Live. Are you ready?